You're listening to the Flip Houses Like a Girl podcast, where we educate, empower, and celebrate everyday women who are facing their fears, juggling family and business, embracing their awesomeness, and wholeheartedly chasing their dream of flipping houses. Each episode delivers honest-to-goodness tools, tips, and strategies you can implement today to get closer to your first or next successful house flip. Here's your spiky-haired, breakfast taco-loving host, house flipping coach, Debbie DeBerry.
Hey, you guys, it's Debbie here, and I hope that whatever you're up to today, you're having an easy one. Man, the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've just been kind of dragging along. And I had some blood work done recently and realize now why it feels like I've been dragging along. And that's because my iron is incredibly low. We're talking single digit low. So obviously I'm taking some supplements and handling all of that business and hope to feel back in my A game range because I'm feeling more like C, D level, and that doesn't feel awesome. Why the heck are you sharing this with me, Debbie? Well, it's to encourage you to go get checked out. If you're not feeling great, go to the doctor and handle what's going on with your body. All right? We don't have to go through our life feeling crappy all the time. Okay, enough of that. Now, let's get into today's episode. But first, of course, I want to do a listener shout out because if you take the time to share some feedback with me, I got to give you a shout out. So this review is from Lauren04049. She says, Debbie does a great job of laying out the framework to get started and then talks about all the nuances of what it takes to be successful. I'm working on my first flip and Debbie is giving me so much confidence to get it done. Thank you, Debbie. Well, thank you, Lauren04049, for taking the time to leave the rating and review. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to let me know that what I'm doing actually matters. So I appreciate that. And also, don't forget, the more ratings and reviews, the more visibility your show gets. So if you're getting some value out of this podcast, will you please do me a favor and help us reach more like-minded women like you by leaving us a rating and a review. All right, enough of the housekeeping. All right, I'm excited to share this conversation with you that I had with Heather Banks. She also flips houses here in Austin, Texas. And the cool part about it, actually there are a couple of cool parts. So a couple of reasons why I really wanted to have this conversation with her are, one, guess what? She finds her deals on the MLS. Yeah, there's another one. Okay, so stop with the excuses. All right. And number two is she manages her projects a little bit differently than I do. So I like to get one main crew that can do most of the work, and she pieces it out. So it's really cool that there are multiple ways that you can make this business work. And then lastly, she uses private money to fund her flips. So she has a private money partner and they split their profits 50-50. He brings the money and she manages the project. All right? Yes, you guys, people exist out there that just want to invest in projects and want nothing to do with the actual project. And they make a fantastic return. Okay? Yes, they exist. Yes, there are houses on the MLS. And yes, you can do this business in multiple ways. All right, let's get into this conversation. It's going to sound like we're kind of starting halfway through. And that's only because initially there was a bad connection and we had to work through that a little bit. So, okay, we're starting the conversation talking about the current projects that she's working on. Okay, all right, enjoy. Are your flips that you're doing right now, are they for other people or are they y'all's personal investments?
It's with an investor kind of as a partner. So they are for us. and for the investor that we work with. So it's like a JV kind of thing.
Oh, I
But
gotcha.
he's like a silent investor. So
Gotcha.
I consider it for us, but with accountability to another person.
Yeah, I gotcha. So
Yeah.
how do you guys structure it? Is it like a 50-50 split or does it vary?
No, it doesn't vary. It's a straightforward, very simple 50-50 split.
Yeah. And he or she provides all the financing. Do they provide all the financing for the purchase and the renovations, or?
Yes. He provides all of the financing for the purchase and the renovation. He's basically just the money person, so I do everything else. He just makes the decision on yes or no to buy the property, and then I make all the decisions with regard to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and getting bids and managing everything, and he just basically writes the checks. So
Got it.
it's nice
Okay.
that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Can get complicated otherwise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Too many cooks can be in the kitchen. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. I totally agree. Okay. So, okay, awesome. And your first flip was in 2015. Have you always partnered with this specific person, or did you partner with somebody else on your first flip, or how did you do your first flip?
No, actually, my very first flip and the two after that were not with a partner. They were just myself and my husband, and that was with hard money lenders.
Got it. Yep.
For the first three. And then after that, I took a break because I was pregnant with my third kid, and it was all a little overwhelming. And we can talk about that if you want or not. But the third flip was a little bit challenging. And I was like, okay, I need to stop for a little bit, focus on other things, and then maybe come back to it.
Yes.
So I took a break for about a little over a year and didn't do any flips or anything, did some design work. But yeah, so that was hard money for the first three. And then everyone since then has been with this partner.
Okay, awesome. I totally want to talk about the flip that was challenging. I think those are,
Yeah. I mean everyone's challenging.
The ones that go so perfectly, like those are great and all, but let's be realistic.
Yeah.
The ones that have the challenges are the best learning. I mean, they're the best ones for people to learn from. So yeah, walk me through whatever you want to about that project, like what went down, what the challenges were, and that sort of thing.
Okay, well, the second and third ones that I did were both challenging in different ways. The first one, I mean, every flip that I've done have had their own challenges, especially as I've kind of worked my way through how I'm doing things and what I'm doing and who is helping me and all of that stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But the first one, was very much a learning experience because I was just trying to figure my way through things. But it financially, it was profitable. I think we made around $60,000 net at the end. So I was happy with that.
For sure.
And then, so we moved forward with the second, and the third one was with a partner. The second one was still myself with a hard money lender. The second one was challenging because I had a bad contractor experiences, really bad contractor experience, like as in the guy who I hired to do all of the demo, putting in the windows, the siding, all of the kind of structural exterior stuff, and it was a pretty big gut job. He was really organized and lacked. I guess he had a lot of jobs going on at the time. And while we were away for a Christmas break, I came back to the project and the entire back patio was gone, like torn out by a bobcat or something in a pile in the backyard. And that was not what I was planning because that was not in the budget to tear that out and redo it. It was fine. It had some cracks, but whatever. So it was gone. And I was like, what happened? And so my first question was to ask this guy, hey, send him pictures. What happened to my back patio? This was not in the scope. Like, this was never supposed to be torn out. And he denied having anything to do with it. And I was like, well, who would just trespass onto the property, bring their bobcat, and tear out somebody's back patio. That's just not something that happens. And he said, I don't know what happened. I mean, I have no idea. And I was like, okay, this is really weird and shady. And so I come to find out that one of the neighbors had seen a truck with his logo on it pull up with a bobcat. So I had circumstantial evidence. So I told him that, and this is weeks and weeks later, he finally admitted to it, that he'd torn off the patio. He had sent his crew to the wrong address. They were supposed to go to a different house and tear out the patio.
Oh my gosh.
But they went to my project and tore out the patio. So that was number two. That was the big thing. I had lots of other problems with that guy, but that was the biggest nightmare of that.
What was the resolution there? Like financially, was there?
It took well, there was eventually, in that he finally, after I told him that people had seen him, he finally admitted to it, that it was him, that he had sent his crew to the wrong address, and then he said he would redo the patio, which he did after probably 2 months of daily calls and emails asking, hey, when's this going to happen? When is this happening? You said you were going to fix it. Like, do I have to file a police report for trespassing and for, at that point, I didn't even know. I was like, vandalism? What do you call when somebody accidentally destroys a part of your house that you own? or accidentally or on purpose. But yeah, so he finally re-poured the back patio. He never really fixed the landscaping that was messed up along with it and everything. But, at that point, it was just time to move on.
Oh my gosh.
From that guy.
Yeah.
So, so after that,
right. It's like you want them to resolve it, but you're done with them. So it's like,
yes, I'm like, please, I never want to see you or talk to you again. I just want to finish this house. So I did that one, and then I started the third project kind of while that was ongoing. I had a partner with that one. I don't know how much I can go into detail on the third one because there is still a lawsuit that we're talking about with that one. It's underway. We are the complainants. I don't know, with a lawsuit, basically having to do with undisclosed plumbing issues relating to the sewer lines. Like I said, I don't know how much detail I can go into that one, but I'll just say that previous buyers on that property had done some plumbing testing and tried to negotiate the sales price with the seller. They declined. They didn't update the seller's disclosure, and also all they did was put a random document in the MLS files that had a link to, like, a random hyperlink to a video of the test from the plumbing on like page 4 of a blank document.
Sure.
It's pretty crazy.
Right.
And our realtor never gave us that document or told us that it existed. And they never updated the seller's disclosure. So we found out all this after we purchased the house.
Oh my gosh. What a nightmare. And that was in what, 2016, 2017?
That was in 2016. So needless to say, after that one, I took a break because, those last two had some challenges, and so I really want to do this. And I love transforming houses, but all of those learning lessons were big lessons that I learned. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
I get to keep doing this.
So was it hard for you? And I ask this because been there. Was it hard for you so that was the third flip that was so troubling. Was it harder than normal for you to pull the trigger on the fourth flip?
You would think it would be, but I am kind of risk averse, and I'm not scared of taking risks. Probably as scared as most people, like on a scale. I'm definitely at the higher end of taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, I've always been that way. I've always had my own businesses. I don't like working for other people, that sort of thing. So I felt much more comfortable with the fourth one because I had taken a long break and kind of reevaluated everything. And I had a plan, and I had this partner, and I was super excited about the aspect of not having hard money loans anymore, and of having someone taking the financial stress off of it for me was a big part of it too, because that was one of the biggest stressors with hard money lending, is you have that big down payment, and then you have those big monthly payments that are interest only, and if you don't sell the house, then you're still paying those monthly payments, and it really adds up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Faster than you think. So having that stress taken out of it was huge for me. And I was like, because I can focus on everything else and not worry about the financial stress while still kind of in my mind, back of my mind, pretending that it's my money, because that's, you still have to be careful. You're using somebody else's money. And that takes a lot of, respect and everything. So
yeah, for sure.
But that just took a lot of stress off of me. So I was excited for that. And I was ready to get back into it. And I felt excited about the project we were going to be working on. And, I was just really excited to make it happen. And I was ready for it. So I was a little nervous, but at the same time, I was more excited. And I really wanted this one to be successful so that he would want to continue to partner with me on more. So that was kind of my goal.
The break kind of helped you get your confidence back in the whole process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Your partner, is that a personal relationship? Like, is that a friend, or was it somebody random? How did you connect with your private money?
He is one of my good friends' old bosses. So it was a personal connection. I didn't necessarily go out seeking him, but my friend was talking about me, and he had always been interested in doing real estate investing, but he doesn't have the time to do it. He just has the money to do it. So it seemed perfect. And he had actually asked her if I would ever be interested in partnering, and she asked me, and I said, well, yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a meeting with him. I brought him all the information and the pictures and the details, and kind of did a presentation. And he said, I'm interested. Let's try to find something. So it actually, in that year-long break where I was busy being pregnant and having another child, at the same time, I was also kind of started slowly sending him deals. And I think he just took his time as well, like trying to decide on to pull the trigger. So the timing worked out where he was ready and I was ready.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
So, yeah, but it's been great.
Yeah. I think it has been my experience that people hear about what you're doing or see what you're doing. And if they are like that, they have the money, they don't have the time, they don't necessarily want to do the renovating. They really just want to invest, right? Like that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like they will find you, because just like you said, your friends are going to be talking about you. Money will find deals. That's finding, getting the deals, get the deals, and money will find them. So,
yeah.
Okay.
I think so too. And if you have a little bit of a proven track record, or you can really kind of say what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it, and how you're going to manage everything, I think all of that is important, because I think people want to know that they can trust you with their money, and that you're thinking of it as if it were your own money, and that there's so many aspects to flipping a house, and some things you may not be as good at or like to do. Like me, I hate the accounting part of it, but I know it's important. So, we have a whole system that we use where every time I make a purchase, I send him a receipt. I either get reimbursed, or I use his card, and I let him know that the purchase is happening. And then I request checks when I need them. And, we keep a spreadsheet and all of that stuff. So all those little details are kind of important to
Right. Absolutely.
talk
Yeah.
about in the beginning and get lined up so that you know how it's all going to work out.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
And that's my least favorite part, but it's necessary. So
exactly. And here's the thing. A lot of people aren't willing to do the things that they don't want to do, but that they're necessary to do. Like
yeah,
right. Like we are going to just, we seem very similar. We're going to handle whatever needs to be handled. And if you're not that way, you just need to know that you need to outsource that. So grab somebody
yeah,
who is good at that piece, an accountant, a bookkeeper, whatever.
yeah, definitely.
Hire somebody to do it, but it has to be done. Like ignoring it isn't the way.
No, that does not help.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not a good
Doesn't
way.
make it go
And
away.
that partner will probably not want to partner with you again if you ignore that part of it. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I also want to talk to you about something else because I hear this all the time, and I recently talked to Adele Tan about this. You find your deals on the MLS.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay, so you are in a super hot market, Austin, Texas, and you are telling me that you can still find deals on the MLS. So are you, and I agree, a lot of people though, I hear, it's one of the big objections,
Yeah.
there aren't any deals. So are you, I know that you're in a higher price range and so that alone will weed out some of the competition because a lot of people think smaller numbers equals safer. And honestly, I like bigger numbers because the margins are better, right? Like, even if it's the same margin, the numbers are better.
Yeah.
So, okay, so maybe less competition. And are you looking at withdrawns or expireds, or are you just watching like a house that's been on the market a while, or do you just watch and see something that grabs your eye?
It's both. So out of the 10 flips that I've done or I have in progress, all but one have been from the MLS and one was a wholesale deal. So most of those have been houses that have been sitting on the market for a while. That's probably my favorite kind because usually if it's sitting on the market for a while, there's a reason in that it needs to be remodeled. People don't know what to do. They're a little scared of it. Sometimes they're too scary even for me. That's definitely happened, but it's not always the case where I can't walk into a house. And I think that's one of the things that I'm probably good at is figuring out, being able to picture what it could be.
Absolutely.
But finding them that have been sitting for a while, I'm not scared. I'm a licensed real estate agent, so I can, at this point, I wasn't for the first 3 flips, but I have been for the one since then. Got my license in the process of when I was having a baby and all that as part of my plan. And I have, I just look on the MLS, look for ones that are sitting. I'm not scared to make a low ball offer if I have to. I'm not scared of rejection. I obviously lose a lot of deals that way. But surprisingly, I'm often surprised that people are a lot of times willing to negotiate because they're motivated to sell. Their agent is ready to get them to sell because the house has been on the market for 60 or 90 days or longer. And, it just takes a little bit of finessing and negotiation, and it works for me. So, So usually and I am looking in the higher price ranges. So you price, $500,000 to $600,000 range. And usually I'm offering 25 to 50, sometimes even 75,000 less than the current asking price.
Got it.
And
okay.
Usually a lot of times I'll reach out to the agent before I make an offer. I almost always will, and just say, hey, I know this house has been on the market a while. My client, because my client is the investor, is looking to pay in this range. Do you think your seller would even consider that? And sometimes they'll say, yeah, submit an offer. We'll see what happens. And so
It's
You know,
so much.
sometimes I do, and they say, hell no, and sometimes I do, and they say, hey, we won't go this far, but we'll take 30,000 off, and that's a starting point. And then I have
Absolutely.
inspections, and we negotiate even more.
Yep.
So
Yep. And I mean, that's one of the benefits of getting properties off the MLS versus
yeah,
going through a wholesaler. So
yes,
each way has, pros and cons. But yeah, that's one of the
they do.
benefits is that you actually have an inspection period and
Hmm.
it's a typical contract. It's a typical process. So as if you were buying a house that you were going to live in. So yeah, I love that. I mean, if people would just make offers that are justifiable, like as long as I can
Yeah.
justify an offer, I'll make an offer all day long. Why not? So making offers that
Hmm.
are justifiable. And I think it's different when you, as an agent, because I'm also a broker. So right, like if I receive an offer that is 50 grand below asking and it's just an offer, there's never been a conversation, there's not even the body of the email doesn't even have any information, right? It's just an offer.
Hmm.
I will put zero weight on that. Like it will anger me. But if I get an offer
Yeah.
that, or even somebody calls and says, hey, it might seem low, would they even entertain this? Like, is it worth it to write this offer up? And then you send an offer and you justify it. Like you say, like, this is why. And if we can make it work,
Hmm.
great. But there's a very different energy behind that versus just blasting out lowball offers to everyone and hoping
Yes.
something
Yes,
sticks.
for sure.
Yeah.
My goal is definitely not to offend anybody or
Right.
waste anybody's time, especially the agent and the seller. So I always want to approach it as kindly as I can, and just saying like, hey, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help myself and my seller or my buyer. Um, let's see if we can work something out. And if we can't, then, all it took was an email reply to tell me, no, that's not going to happen ever. Or, hey, maybe so. Let's try it. So
Absolutely. Yep. I
it's
think
all in
that's
the way that you approach it.
absolutely. It's so important. And I mean, relationships, right? It's such a relationship business and you never know.
Hmm.
Agents, I get calls from agents who say, hey, I have this deal. I saw that you flipped this house. I've heard good things about you. I have a deal in the same neighborhood. Would you be interested? Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for calling
Uh-huh.
me.
Yes, that's true. I do. The same thing. I get. I have a few agents that will call me now,
Yeah.
who I've either purchased houses from them that they had listed as flips, or not listed as flips, but that I purchased them to flip them, and they'll say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I have another fixer upper, a house that needs a lot of work. Do you think you'd be interested?" And I'm like, "Yes, send me the details." So
Yes. It's
it works
awesome.
out in many ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's such a relationship business. And just
Hmm.
having one more person out there who thinks of you, and thinks, you know what,
Hmm.
maybe Heather would want this. I'll reach out to her. Like that's
Yeah.
just easy marketing, really.
Yes.
Okay, so finding deals on the MLS, go make offers, people. That's the message from there.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to talk to you about managing your contractors. So we both are project managers. We manage our own projects, and
Hmm.
which is awesome. I highly recommend it for many reasons. If that's your thing, if it's not your thing, find
Yeah.
somebody who can manage the project. Um, so one difference that came up recently is I tend to find one main crew that can do the majority, like 90% of the work, anything that doesn't require a license, like plumbing, electrical, mechanical. And you kind of piece it together. And so I want to talk to you about that because I love that. I love that different ways of running your business and running a project work. And there's not a one size fits all. And it's absolutely like what works for you. So
Yeah.
I guess what do you feel like there are different challenges for you, or do you feel like there are different benefits for the way that you do it?
I think for me, the benefit is, well, first of all, I will say it took a while. Like the first 3 projects were kind of trial and error on figuring out how am I going to do this? Can I find a good crew? And I would have probably been open at the time to finding one person to do it all. But my experience with having one person do it all in the case of those, or do like more than one part, was bad, in that I found a guy to do, let's say, refinishing the floors, and then he also laid the tile, and he did a great job on refinishing the floors and a horrible job on laying the tile. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not great. I have to fix this. I ended up installing the backsplash tile myself because I didn't trust him to do it. I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, maybe I need to try to find someone who does only those things to do those things, so that I can make sure that they're doing it the way that I want them to do it, and I'm happy with the end result. So it kind of was trial and error in that way, as I figured for me the best way to do it was to find specialists in those areas and have them do those parts of the project. Now it takes more time because your schedule, it's a lot of scheduling, it's a lot of communication and trying to figure out who's going to be there when, and you don't want 15 people working in one small bathroom because they're going to get annoyed and somebody's going to leave, and
right.
That sort of thing. So it's definitely a lot of management to do it that way, but it works because I've finally to the point where I feel like I have my people that I call for each thing, and they're each really great at what they do.
Got it.
So I can count on them to be able to do just tile, or just drywall and paint, just trim and closet, finish carpentry. I've got a cabinet guy, of course, countertop people, so framers, all of that. Plumbers and electricians who are licensed, who do all of their thing, and the HVAC guys. So for me, it's just everybody does their thing, and it's it works out in the end where I feel like everybody knows how I like things to be done, and they do their job, and they're in and out eventually, and it just works. It works out, the way that I'm hoping it will, for the most part. So it did take a long time to find these people that I like, because there's great tile guys, and there's not so good tile guys, and there's great tile guys who are crazy expensive, and then there's horrible tile guys who are too expensive for the kind of work they're doing. So it's a little bit of trial and error.
Sure.
But it's now that I've got that crew, they all kind of have started to know each other too. So it works out because they can communicate with each other in addition to with me. So yeah. It works out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love that different ways work. I love it. There's no one size fits all. And just like you said, through trial and error, you're going to figure out what works best for you. So you may start doing it one way and then decide, I don't want to do it that way. And you shift gears and you try something else. It's never like set in stone that you have to do it one way forever and ever.
And I will say too, luckily with the flexibility of my schedule and always working for myself, I've been able to have the time to manage everybody. But if I was flipping a house and at the same time I had a full-time job, I don't think there's any way I could do it this way, because it takes so much time. Like I always am running around doing site visits in the mornings usually, and checking up on the work being done. And there's always questions. So I can see the benefits also of having either a general contractor, if you don't have the time to manage it yourself, or having one person who does it all, and it's just one point of communication for you, versus having to talk to 8 to 10 different trades throughout the course of the project. So like you said, there's a million ways to do it, and there's a way to make all of those ways work. It just depends on what's best for your personality and for your time and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Okay, let's see. What else can we talk about that I am forgetting because of my mushy 40-something brain. Um, let's
Me
see.
too.
Is there anything that you wish you had known when you maybe before your first flip, like looking back, is there anything you wish you had known or you had done differently in terms of, I don't know, I guess what is there a piece of advice that you would give to somebody starting out that you wish you had known?
There are so many things I wish I had
I
known.
know, right? let me let
but
me kick
but
my
at the
feet up.
same time, I know. At the same time, I would say that there's not a ton of things I would change other than hiring that guy who tore out the back patio because that was awful. Because every single thing that's gone wrong, I have learned a lesson from, and for the most part, I have not made that mistake again.
Absolutely.
So in that way, I think one of the most important things is to try not to let all the little things that go wrong, because there will be little things that go wrong, and there will be huge things potentially that go wrong.
Yep.
Try not to let them get you so down, and try to take it as a little lesson, a learning lesson, and apply that to the next time, knowing that, okay, you're not going to make that mistake again. You know, even simple things like, okay, the light fixture's in the wrong place. There's a door there, and you can't open the door without hitting the ceiling fan. Okay, next time you'll know to look for that before you put the drywall in. Like little things, you're just going to learn so many lessons. And as long as you're kind of chugging along and growing every time, then I think that it's worth it, just knowing that you're going to get better and better at what you're doing. And
absolutely.
If you're enjoying it and loving it, then I think that's probably one of the most important things.
Yeah, totally. And you are so right that every single project, there's something different to learn. I mean, every single project. It's 11 years later, I'm still learning things. And it's like,
Me too.
but thank goodness, because my brain would be so bored. I love to learn.
Me too.
Yeah. So it's not always fun. Like I don't necessarily want to learn these lessons, but on the other hand, I would get really bored if it was just the same old, go through this process, expect all the same things. There aren't any surprises. I love everything about the entire process and even the hard parts. So you have to be resilient. You have to be able to bounce back, not just freak out and freeze and not get into action and resolve whatever the situation is.
Yeah. And you have to, that's another thing I think that is important, and you'll kind of learn you have to be a problem solver. And if you're not naturally inclined to that, you'll have to figure out how to be one, because there's going to be things that require resolution, and it's not always the clear path for how to solve that problem. So sometimes you have to come up with an alternative solution or bring in someone else to try to solve that problem. So I think being adaptable and not being so fixed in your mindset on there's only one way to do things, that fix things that come up is another big thing, because you can never kind of predict what's going to happen when you're remodeling a house. No matter how good your plans are, some things are going to change. Something's going to be in the wrong place. Something's going to be in the way. A door's going to be too small, or your cabinet's going to be too big. Your sink's not going to fit. There's going to be something. And so as long as you can kind of working with way to fix it, then it's not the end of the world.
Absolutely.
It's just time.
Yep.
Usually.
Absolutely.
Time.
Absolutely.
That's another thing I would say too, is whatever timeline you're thinking in your head, probably add 2 to 4 weeks onto that at the minimum, because it's probably going to take longer than you think, and it's going to cost a little bit more than you think usually.
Right. Right.
Or a lot more.
Right. Totally.
That's another thing with being flexible and being easygoing about the whole thing, is you have to just you can't let all those little things get you done. You know, it's taking longer than you thought. Well, it just is. So
Absolutely.
make it work.
Yep. 100% agree. I think people who are prone to feeling stress easily and not being able to move past it quickly, their role probably shouldn't be managing the project. They can still be involved, but it probably shouldn't be the day-to-day project management stuff, because they will not be happy. Like, that's not their zone of genius, and they will not be happy. I think,
Yeah.
and like you said, problem solving. I mean, I say it all the time. This is what I think flipping houses is. It's managing the 3 Ps. So managing people, the project, and problems. That's it. Like, that's what we do every single time. And problems are always coming up. Again, it's why I love flipping houses, because it's just, problem solving and puzzle solving, all of those nerdy things that I like to do. So I love talking to
it
someone
feels
else.
so great.
Yeah. I love talking
Yeah,
to someone else who likes the same things.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great feeling when you come up with a resolution to what seems like a hugely daunting problem, and you're like, it's actually a better resolution than maybe the original resolution, or this is going to look even better than what I was planning originally. So you just have to kind of be open to that. And,
yes,
sometimes it's even better. So
yep, absolutely. Totally agree. Yes. Well, I
don't think there's ever any time where I go on a site visit and there's not some kind of problem. Usually it's a minor problem or a question, but it's always something.
Yep.
Especially when you're doing, like, when I've gotten to the point of doing these hugely crazy remodels where you're changing the floor plan and completely redoing the shell of the house.
Right.
And there's things.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And and if that kind of thing is going to, I don't know, razzle you too much, you probably shouldn't fulfill the role of project manager, but you can still be involved. Maybe you're an investor, maybe you're whatever, but project managing probably isn't going to be your favorite place to be in the project.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, awesome. All right. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up this call?
Not specifically that I can think of. I think the only other thing I would say that is one of the most important lessons that I've learned, and I'm still learning, is to trust your gut when it comes to the people that you're working with and the people that you're hiring.
Yeah.
And, if something doesn't feel right or seem right, then there's a reason. And you're probably right in that feeling. So
yes.
Excellent. That's one of the hugest lessons, and it's hard for me because I'm a people pleaser, and I don't want people to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, there was a contractor, a guy that I recently hired to do concrete work, and I didn't really like him from the beginning, but everything he was saying was right, and I just kind of had an icky feeling. But I ended up hiring him because he seemed so great, but at the same time weird.
Yep.
And he did a job, and it was okay. It was it was acceptable. His price was good. And then he was like, he was always calling me looking for more work. And I was like, okay, well, he wants more work here. Can you do this demo? And so hired him to do the demo. And then I gave him too much of a deposit, which is a big, people, when you start working with people and then you're like, oh, he needs an extra whatever. And I had that feeling, and I was like, I shouldn't, but he did this other project and it was fine.
Right.
And then he stopped answering my calls, and I'm calling him. I'm like, where are you? And he was and I was kicking myself because I knew better. I should have listened to my gut, but I didn't. And he was supposed to finish this project, and he basically never did. And I had to hire somebody else. And so trust your gut. That's what it leads down to. And get references as much as you can. Make sure you have a contract. Make sure you stick to the deposit amount, even if they're telling you they need money for to pay their employees because it's Friday or whatever. If they haven't finished the work that they need to finish to get that next portion of the payment, don't give it to them. You just
Yeah,
have to be firm on that.
all of that is so important. Like
Yeah.
I have a humongous grin on my face because I'm like, yes, I totally get all of that. Been there, like,
Yeah.
Totally. And trusting your gut.
And and it's different. I will say it's a little different if you've been working with, like you've had the same crew for years and years.
Totally.
And so, if the guy needs an extra couple $100 and you've been working with him for years, he's not going to run off with it. Like, I totally do that. I've done that before with a few of the people that I've been working with for several years. I trust them. I know they're not going to bail. But for someone that you've just started working with, or it's only been a short amount of time and you're just not sure, and if you have that feeling, especially, just don't do it.
Yep. Totally. Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you clarified. It doesn't mean that you can't ever help that person out. It's when you don't have any track record with them, just be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like it might not be the best idea, and listen to your gut, because it could be telling you something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of times, and maybe not, but at least you won't regret it later.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's how the call ended, because the cell phone gods wouldn't have it any other way. Anyway, there were some really helpful nuggets and pieces of advice and wisdom that Heather shared, and I'm grateful for her taking the time out to visit with us and share part of her story with us. All right, if you are sick of watching from the sideline as other people successfully flip houses in your market, and you're frustrated and you just need help, go to firstflipdoneright.com and get on the wait list. Doors will open again in January, and 2020 is looking to be one heck of a year. And we want to share that journey with you. All right? firstflipdoneright.com. Put your name on the wait list. All right, you guys. Until next time, go out there, flip houses like a girl, leave people and places better than you find them, and make it a great day. Bye, y'all.